So I just finished watching the HBO documentary expose on Katie Griggs, Guru Jagat, and what it brought to mind for me is that, sometimes folks will come to divination, whether it's their own divination, their own decks, their own spirits, or their readers' tables, and they want answers. They want clear direction. And sometimes our spirits will say, you should do this. You should try that. But often, and it even happened quite a bit last night during Spirit Salon, our guides will say, we want you to exercise your agency. We want you to trust yourself to make your own decisions and to learn from those experiences, what you think is right and what you think is wrong. And it can be a little bit frustrating because you come to your divination tools or your readers because you want clear directions. You want instructions. And there's nothing inherently wrong with that. But in my opinion, a good spiritual practice doesn't dictate all of your actions. It gives you a helpful guideline for how to develop your own moral compass, for how to trust yourself to make decisions that are in alignment with what you think is right and what you think is wrong. And sometimes right and wrong isn't always so binary. There's always a lot of gray area in between, but I just think it's interesting. I feel like that's how a lot of folks end up in cults or cult-like spaces because we don't trust ourselves. We don't trust ourselves to make good decisions. And we want someone to tell us what to do. And even what you should eat, who you should date, or in the case of 3HO, who you should marry, when you should go to the bathroom and how you should do that, where your children go to school, all of this. And that's how we end up getting sucked into these organizations that aren't healthy or helpful. And I think that's a big reason why I'm so passionate about espiritismo, why I'm so passionate about teaching people how to develop their own relationships with their spirits, their own relationships with your guides. Because at the end of the day, I am absolutely not interested in telling you how to live your life. That does not appeal to me. I think I need to get my bangs cut in any way whatsoever. What I'm interested in is giving you the tools so that you can connect with your guides and so that you can connect with yourself, so that you can develop your discernment and make decisions that feel good and right and true for you. And, when we're working with our spirit guides, that's a lot of what they teach us. They're not necessarily telling us what to do. They're making sure that we're caring for ourselves. And the way we care for ourselves becomes a blueprint for how we interact with other people and the world around us. And I can definitely understand, though, why people get sucked into these cults and cult-like organizations, because it's hard. We're all exhausted. We're exhausted, and having to make a decision for yourself is a challenge sometimes. Also, I feel like, we live in this Amazon Prime world where we're used to getting things that we want immediately. And a lot of these organizations like Rama, like 3HO, they're like, well, we'll tell you how to get enlightenment right away. Or like Teal Swan, or Twin Flames Universe, which is now the Church of Twin Flames. We can teach you how to get enlightenment immediately, how to get free immediately. And sometimes folks will come to me and be frustrated because they realize that what their guides are instructing them, is not only a process, but a praxis. It's something that you have to commit to and be conscious of in every moment of your life. I mean, it's not realistic to think you're going to be conscious of it every moment of your life. But it's a lifelong experience. And that doesn't always sound appealing. I want to be a better, more enlightened person right now. And like, me too. Me too, friend. But that's just not the way it works in most global cosmologies. Like, you know, we become better people by the little choices that we make on our own every single day. And even like when we think about, you know, the Catholic Church and how there used to be, you could pay for your, like you go to confession and you could pay for your, oh my God, I can't remember what it's called. Not pay for your penance, because that's the thing you have to do, but like you'd pay for your forgiveness, but there was like a term for it. And again, it's this reinforcement of like instant healing, instant betterment, instant self-improvement. And I feel like that's such a disingenuous promise to make people. And when I teach Into the Veil, that's something I'm really, really honest about. Like, the practices you learn are things you're going to have to implement over your life, the rest of your life, if you so choose to do it, if you want to. It's the most important thing. Like, you might find there's something better for you, and I love that. Like, anything that helps you to be a good person in this life, I think is a good thing. But a lot of these programs, like 3H, well, you know, like Rama, it's not about becoming a better version of yourself so that you can be a better member of your local community and your global community. It's very self-serving. And like, what's the point of that? I don't know. It's that capitalist American individualism repackaged with crystal sound bowls. And like, what, you know, like, I'm not here to yuck anybody's yum. If it makes you be a better version of yourself for yourself and for the people around you, that's cool. But I do feel like a lot of these things bypass the importance of like interdependence and working with our guides, working with our ancestors. We come to see spirituality as relationship, as reciprocal relationship. And then we come to see our relationship with the living as reciprocal. And then we see our relationship with our environment as reciprocal. And that becomes what helps guide our choices that we make on our own. I think good spiritual praxis, no matter what it is, encourages you to trust yourself and make decisions and know that if you make mistakes, you can learn from those mistakes and try things differently, try things better the next time. It's not punitive always, right? I don't know. What the fuck do I know? Nothing. All I know is what I know, and that is certainly not everything, my friends. That is certainly not everything, but just like be careful out there, you know. I'm also fascinated by the whole, is everyone else's nose running right now? I feel like everybody's got a runny nose right now. The whole like crunchy, unrooted spirituality to alt-right QAnon pipeline is also very fascinating to me, because, you know, I talk often about how developing relationship with our ancestors, our ancestry, ancestral practices helps to, I guess, guide us through this life. I think it helps with our discernment. And we see in this practice of Kundalini, which is falsely attributed to Sikhism by its founder, Guru Bhajan, like we see the real world repercussions of engaging in spiritual practices that have no rooting in people or culture or land, because he literally made the whole thing up. And like, what comes of that? I know that, like 3HO, this is an extreme example, but in that case, what comes of it is violence, especially against non-men, especially against children. And I mean, we see it also in like the Teal Swan documentary. What do we get? Violence. We see it in all of these different cult documentaries after they get exposed. The more modern ones are like Nexium. But even going back to like fucking Jonestown and shit, we see that in spirituality without rooting in land, people, culture, and reverence for those things leads to violence, assault, death, this feeling of being real. I mean, everything leads to death eventually, right? We're all gonna die. But I'd rather die when I'm supposed to and not because some dude told me to drink purple Kool-Aid. I don't know. Anyway, I'm just yapping. I'm just venting because I remember when the Rama Wrong Instagram page came out, because it was fascinating, because these were things that like had already been whispered about in Los Angeles, but most people outside of LA didn't know all of the whispers that were going around about Rama and Guru Jagat and Guru Bhajan. And it was just this like really culturally significant moment where people outside of this little bubble of Los Angeles were starting to see the truth behind the origins of this spiritual practice. And I remember when Katie Griggs posted that video on her Instagram of her coming out of a gold elevator and like blasting the money gun, and it was just like money, 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 money. And it was just so interesting in the documentary to see that like they're broke. Like they were in deep, deep, deep debt. And it's always interesting when these leaders, after they're gone, we come to find out that so much of what they teach, they did not live. Like they talked in this documentary about Guru Bhajan, like not actually practicing yoga, not actually eating the food that he required his 3HO followers to eat. And Katie Griggs seemed to be the same way based on the people they talked to in this documentary. Like she did not participate in the things that she taught. And I don't know, I just want y'all to use your discernment and be so mindful when choosing your spiritual teachers and the spiritual practices that you engage with. You know, ask them who their teachers are, ask them about the history, ask them about the people. And anyone who's like weird about answering those questions, maybe they're not the one for you. Maybe, I don't know. Well, my friends, that's all I have to say. I have to go to parent-teacher conferences, but I had to share with someone, so I decided to share with the internet. I will talk to y'all soon. If you watched the documentary, I would love to hear your thoughts about it. If you ever attended classes at Rama, I would love to hear your thoughts about it, because I worked for a woman who was like deep in Rama Venice and just behaved not so dissimilarly from Guru Jagat, like very much wanted us to all know how special she was to be chosen for these programs at Rama with Guru Jagat. And she loved to talk about, it was very like evangelical, like wanted other people to go too. And when we would travel, nobody wanted to room with her. First of all, because she was the boss. Nobody wants to room with their boss. But also because she would get up at 5 a.m. and start doing the Kundalini chants, like open the windows on these business sales trips where we're all jet lagged. I would start doing her Kundalini practice. And you know what? Like, I gotta respect that discipline. I really do. I gotta respect that level of discipline. But also, I don't know. It was odd. It's just odd. My sister and I often joke about being grateful for the spirituality that we were raised in, including Catholicism, with all of its flaws. And there's plenty to talk about because at least it made us skeptical. At least it made us plenty skeptical so that we didn't get sucked into a cult. But at the end of the day, like, I understand why it happens. The more I watch these things, the more I understand how it happens. Because, you know, especially in American society, like, we're so homogenized into American culture that we, generally speaking, don't have access to ancestral ways, ancestral cosmologies. And as human beings, we yearn for something to believe in. And these things are so appealing and well packaged. So I get how it happens. Yeah. Anyway, I'm done ranting. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.